Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences and their expertise, and we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Hello dear listener, dear viewer, my name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. I'm so delighted to join you once again in this wonderful program, Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. We do our best to bring you life-changing and impactful information. We bring you wonderful entrepreneurial guests in each and every time. And today is no exception because I'm with Miss Saku, Natasha Siku, who's going to share on issues relating to sports entrepreneurship, serial entrepreneurship, and I call her a serial entrepreneur. Welcome. You're a fellow serial entrepreneur.
Thank you.
Okay. Please introduce yourself to the viewers. Tell us what you do and what you're about.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. Well, hello. My name is Natasha Siku. I am 28 years old. I'm an athlete first, and I am a social sports entrepreneur, meaning that I try to help create opportunities for athletes locally.
Yes.
And I'm also the founder of Wing It On. It's a chicken wing eatery right here in Gaborone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your sports career in the sense of you being active in sports. I know that you're a tennis player mainly.
Right.
Tell us about that.
Well, I started playing sport when I was around 9. I went to a school that made playing sport compulsory. And obviously that was like my first encounter with like bush swimming, hockey, squash, tennis. But one thing that really stuck out to me now that I think about it was the fact that I latched on so fast, like I picked up sports so fast. So I was introduced to tennis, and within a month or two.
At what age were you introduced to tennis?
9. I started all these sports at 9. But it was interesting how at the end of like the term, I was already like team captain, and I had never played those sports before. So that happened, and I slowly progressed from like a beginners group to like the team.
This is at which university?
This is at Murula Primary School.
Oh.
Gopikwe.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Okay. And how far did you go with the sports, especially the tennis?
So one time in Pikwe, there was one of the national coaches from Gaborone came for like a camp. Abampona, and then he was like, we want to invite you to a training camp in Gaborone. And then after that, there's going to be a tournament. After that tournament, I won that tournament, my very first tournament, and then I was picked to represent Botswana when I was about 13. So it took off from there, really.
Okay. And it seems to me that you really went far with sports. Can you share with the viewers the accolades that you acquired?
All of them, or just the highlights?
Just the highlights.
Okay.
Yeah, the highlights.
Definitely playing for my country, both tennis and netball. In 2018, I was the first female and only female that represented Botswana at the Commonwealth Youth Games that were held in India. So that was an honor. And then after that, I got a tennis scholarship through like college sports in the US. So it wasn't like government or anything like that. It was just a scholarship that I had to outsource for myself. That definitely has to be, my biggest sporting
accomplishment.
Yes. I think just being able to defy the odds to get that scholarship in a very non-conventional way for me was what made it what it was.
Could you share how you secured it? People often expect things to happen to them.
Right.
But it seems your attitude is you make things happen.
Yes.
How did you go about it?
So when I was about 16, 17, I researched about college sport universities. We obviously had mentors and role models in the sports world. Nirnale, our big sisters, Bota Marobela, And the Tapio had gotten a scholarship from a very young age from the International Tennis Federation. We knew she was in the US. And I remember thinking, I want to be like Tapio. How do I go to the US? So I started to research about this thing called college sports. College sports in the US means, Natasha, by virtue of being athletic, it can put me through college.
Yes.
That's how it will pay my tuition. So at 17, I started to research about that. I started to, so my dear Kumbi, well, I used to walk to school, but if I got like pocket money, I'd use that money to go to an internet cafe and start to research. Like I tutile the internet and I just asked Google everything, literally. And I was able to, step by step, how does this work? How do I apply? I started to learn how to write emails, how to put together a portfolio and a profile. I got someone to shoot me, get Samika tennis, like a video. And I emailed that to over 200 universities in the US until I got like the offer, like the best offer. And then I had to sit my family down, explain to them that process. Or this is what happens. Obviously they were skeptical, they were scared, but I knew what I was going for. Yeah, so then after that,
So
all
at what
that
age you went to the
together.
US?
I went to the US, I think I was 18, almost 19. Yes.
Okay, I called you a serial entrepreneur. So I think the starting point would be to know when the entrepreneurial bug bit you. And I take it did bite you really hard.
Yes.
And you started focusing on entrepreneurship.
Right. Now that I look at it, actually, now that I look back, I realized that I've always been interested in English, in business, sorry. Because even while we were traveling, sports, I would always sell things. Like everybody knew if they wanted something, they go to Natasha. I saw a gap every single time. I saw that there was a need in everything, every single time. So that grew with me. And
What
even
sort of things were you selling?
Well, at that time, the only things I could really sell were like airtime. I would take pictures and sell them because everybody wanted photos. So I'd take my digital camera, take photos of everybody and then sell it after. I remember campaign and I opened like a little tuck shop because we would have dinner around 5 and at around 8 athletes are starving. So my room was always open for whatever people needed to get, and I made killings. And then but at that time I didn't even know what entrepreneurship was. I think in my mind, because of the narrative, my thing was go through school, find a job, work your way through the corporate up the corporate ladder, and that's how you're going to be successful. I only got to experience the term entrepreneurship as a young adult. So I've been this.
That is so 20th century, isn't it?
Yes.
That thinking.
Yes. And then I remembered, it's okay not to go through this conventional route that we've been taught. And I think for me, that's when things started to kind of make sense, around the age of like 20.
Okay. You founded a company called Opportunities Without Borders.
Yes.
Tell us what that company does and why the name Opportunities Without Borders.
Okay. So just to share a little bit of a backstory around Opportunities Without Borders, it was really inspired by the fact that I went for my college tennis dream. I pursued it. And then while I was in the US, I saw how much of an opportunity this was for me. And I thought to myself, there are a lot more athletes like me in Botswana that could use the same kind of opportunity. How can I help? How can I enable them? How can I make it easy for them? And that's when I thought of Opportunities Without Borders. It had to be an organization that helped bridge the gap between sporting talent in Botswana and them finding scholarships in the US. Just being able to navigate
the same way you had done.
The same way that I had done.
Acquired those skills.
Correct.
So you wanted to now monetize them.
Yes. And I was like, also, we have like natural talent at home. I know what US colleges are looking for. I know we have it here at its purest form. But now how do I transcend that from Botswana to the US? And then the name Opportunities Without Borders, for me, I live in a limitless world. I never want to limit myself.
Bravo.
I never want to be put in a box where Natasha is just an athlete. So for me, this was what it meant.
Okay. And then what do you actually physically do? I mean, how does the company operate presently?
Before COVID, when things were normal, we obviously consult with students and athletes and parents as well, just trying to educate them, because a lot of the thing now is that people are very unaware. They don't have any knowledge about this. Good, they don't know that this part exists, because automatically, how it's a Form 5, it's, you know, try so-and-so embassy or try Horomente or look up this program. Nobody knows where they can do their own research and actually find something for themselves. So we first need to create that awareness. And then they decide to go on board with us, we agree, and then my job will be to profile this particular athlete and send their information to my network of coaches and universities. And in that pool, they choose, okay, Mogobe, I want Mogobe. This is how much I can give him. What do you say? I become like a negotiator.
Okay.
Yes.
How has the success level been pre-COVID?
I think Botswana were getting the hang of it. Because it's still a slow transition. It's only now that parents are starting to realize through sport. It's only starting to make sense. But success is not through school, it's not through some, you know, streamlined way of living. It's multiple streams, it's multiple ways. So I think they were warming up to that, and I was getting a lot of them interested in the process. And
so you hadn't actually executed a particular deal where you successfully sent athletes?
We actually did send one, actually during COVID, Diana, I think she left around August. This started, you know, during the lockdown last year. But prior to that, we have had 3 tennis players, 3 different years. But that was when I was still in the US, transitioning to come and establish it in Botswana. Majority of the people that really understood the concept were tennis players. But bringing it to Botswana, I wanted it to be for all sports codes.
Okay.
Yes.
So how does one invest in it? Suppose I have a child that is very sports minded, or somebody is watching here with a child who's very athletic. What is the actual process? What do they have to do?
They first need to get a hold of me on Opportunities Without Boaders. We're on Facebook. So you'll probably send us a message there, we'll get your details, and then we'll schedule a meetup. We schedule a meetup, and then you obviously come with your child, you come with their profile, and then I sort of assess it and then kind of advise you from there. Is this something that you should pursue, or is this something that, and even just you tell me, there's something here, but we've been looking for somebody like you. Now I'm aware of it, and I want us to pursue this.
Okay. Your other business is Wing On It. Tell us first about the name, and then what the business does.
Wing It On.
Wing It On.
Yes.
Somebody wrote here, Wing On It. Wing It On.
Wing It On.
Yeah.
So Wing It On was started last year around August, during.
It's a child of COVID, isn't it?
Yes.
It was the second lockdown.
Yes.
Second long one.
Yes. And I was very discouraged. I had a lot of anxiety. Obviously, I think I speak for everyone. There was a lot of uncertainty, a lot of anxiety. What is next? What, you know? I had to shut down my tennis academy. I had a tennis academy that teaches like young kids. And a lot of parents became scared, and they were just like, we're gonna pull back and just assess the situation. I was like, okay, what happens to me? What am I gonna do now? And then I said, you know what? I can keep myself busy. It was just meant to be a distraction. It really was just meant to take off the anxiety and to just be a side hustle. I remember having experienced a lot of wing businesses in the US and just how much variety they offered. And I said, I could do this here, just part-time. So I started to research. I did about a month of July. I was researching, and I said, you know what, I need to figure out what I'm gonna do next. but this is what I'm going to do. Let me start working on it. Let me start working on like a logo, how I want this to be received, how I want it to be, what I would want the customer to experience. I started to work on that, and then I had like a side gig that I had to do, a modeling gig, and I told myself, I'm with
You're
that
also
money.
a model?
Yes,
Okay.
sometimes.
Part-time?
Yes.
Yeah.
So with that money, I was like, this is the money I'm going to use to start Wing It On. So I did like my numbers and stuff, and then bought a little bit of stock, had my family try it out and tell me what to improve, and then I woke up 16th of August, I said, I'm going to do this. August 17th, I went live. I launched. Wing It On for me was just that. I wanted it to be simple and to the point. If you want wings, wing it on. If you want to do anything, just wing it on. Yes.
And of course, it's trending on social media right now.
Yes.
What is your social media marketing strategy, and how is it working?
Ooh. You know, I think the overall experience does the work for me. I cannot tell you where I sit here and I spend hours on social media trying to find a strategy. For me, it's the experience. The experience makes it trend. The experience keeps you coming back. The experience makes the social media marketing easy because you're giving people something to look forward to. You're giving people something to talk about. So they do the social media marketing for you.
And for those who don't know, what does Wing It On specifically offer? What is the differentiator about it?
Wing It On is a chicken wing eatery to give you a chicken wing experience. Obviously, the constant thing is chicken wings. But right now, we have a line of 7 in-house sauces that are homemade. And that is the experience that we want to give you. We want you to finally get into our establishment today feeling like you want to be in Japan or Korea, and then you'll have, some teriyaki. You want to be in the Caribbean, we'll give you a jerk chicken. You want to be in Asia, we'll give you an Asian zing. You want something like a Kalahari heat, we'll give you whatever flavor.
Wow.
We want to cater to, we want to give you options.
And these sauces, they are original? You created them yourself?
Some, yes, and okay. I think the ones that the ones that I started with was the ones that I had already experienced in the US, and I was like, this is actually what I could bring here, because we're very limited in terms of like a lot of eateries and options. I love wings, so I wanted my wings to be different.
Okay. For those who may not know much about the wing business, what would you say to them to encourage them to come to your place?
Well, if you're a wing lover, Wing It On is the place for you. If you really just want to come and enjoy a bucket of wings with 7 different flavors or 4 different flavors, that's really where the party's at.
Okay. So in a sense, COVID was a benefit for you. Can you speak to the pros and cons for you around COVID? How it hurt you and how it benefited you?
Okay. I think COVID, for sure. Now I don't spend a lot of time like doing sports, obviously. We don't have a lot of sporting events, so that's not happening. But I think on a lighter note, I gave birth to Wing It On. It's keeping me busy. My anxiety has definitely gotten better. There's now something to look forward to. There's now something to do. Like, I wake up now with a purpose in the midst of a pandemic. I don't wake up worried and wondering. I'm just kind of navigating and really just rolling with the pandemic punches. I think for me, yes, the biggest highlight of COVID is finding this and establishing this and knowing how much of a difference it probably has made in other people's lives. Just to be able to also inspire other people in the midst of a pandemic to say, you know what, this doesn't have to stop me. You can think out of the box. Mogobe, I don't think I'm a restaurateur. I'm not a chef. I don't want to say I'm a chef, but by virtue of being business minded, I was able to give birth to this baby. And the
We're
support.
in the same boat. I own 2 restaurants, but I know nothing about cooking.
Yes,
yeah.
But there is a need for it, and for me, that's exactly what it was.
All right. As a sports person, obviously they always say that the the career of a sports person is limited. You know, most quit around age 35 at the most,
Right.
or some earlier. What advice would you give for sports people in terms of how to manage their careers based on your own experience and the need to pivot to other things?
Hi, wait, this topic. Well, first of all, Tata in Botswana, I don't even think we recognize athletes and sport the way that we should. So we technically don't have careers. Maybe the closest thing to a sporting career in Botswana is being a football player who's probably paid. But in most sports codes, we're not paid to take part. It's not a career. It's a talent. It's a by the way.
A hobby.
Yes. And you are just kind of rewarded for having for allowing that to be your hobby, to say, so a lot of people right now that have careers in sport, maybe you'll find the athletes like Batwa and maybe football players. But even in that, like you said, challenger now with athletes go, you just never really know what's gonna happen. Tomorrow you might be injured and that's it. What is your backup plan? So in the midst of you being an athlete, where else are you sowing seeds? I think we're also moving into going to a time now where we can't just rely on one stream of income. It's not working. So in what you are currently doing right now, where else are you sowing seeds? Where else are you watering? In case I'm getting old, I'm not going to be doing this anymore. What will I be doing?
Okay.
So I think that's pretty much it.
Okay. I mentioned that you are a serial entrepreneur. One of the areas you are active in is speaking. You're a motivational speaker. You spoke internationally. Just let us know how you got into speaking. I'm curious to learn how you pivoted from being a tennis player to a speaker, and how you managed those two. Can you share a bit of the highlights of your career as a speaker and so on?
Okay. So when I was young, I was always picked in my class to do plays and presentations and assemblies and stuff like that, and speeches. But I never really thought of it like maybe I speak good. I don't know. But I think really the trigger for it was obviously after my college tennis story. I think that story, that testimony really inspired a lot of people. Is it like a
keynote address of some kind? Has it come to become a keynote address?
Yes. People identify Natasha Siku. They attached that to that. So a lot of people wanted me to share that journey because they couldn't believe how, around 2010, this young girl was able to just defy the odds to go against the grain. How? Teach us, tell us more. How did you do it? So it was kind of the buzz around that. And for people just knowing, wow, if Natasha can do this, I certainly can. So I think for me, it was a challenge to say, if my story can move so many people, I will proudly share it. I've never been coached on speaking. I just share my story. And I just make it as personal as possible so that the next average person can relate. So even just speaking, I wouldn't say a career because it's honestly something that I don't see myself doing now. It's not as interesting as it was when I was younger. I will share my story, but
what were the highlights? Where did you speak and how was it?
I think the one that stands out to me the most now was the women's conference that I was requested to be a keynote speaker at. In Los Angeles, in California, in the US in 2017. It really, it was a room full of 2,500 women from all industries, high school, university, doctors, lawyers, whatever it is. And they asked me to come and share my story, how I got to the US, what happened and stuff like that. And just who I was personally and what made me do that. I think that is the biggest highlight. I was in Mexico as well. I spoke in about 3 different venues or 4, I think.
What were you doing in Mexico, speaking to what sort of audiences?
I spoke to athletes. and I spoke to, I remember I spoke at a science university, but really it's always around the same thing. How this young girl just navigated her way through life with absolutely.
So it has become like a keynote.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And going back to that keynote speech of yours, what would you say are the most challenging aspects of it? In other words, what are the highlight reels of that keynote speech that you can share with us?
I always encourage people to own their dreams, and that nobody's responsible for it but you. If you get that in your head, you are able to say, this is why I'm waking up in the morning. Your why is very defined. But if you approach things ka mindset or maybe you are entitled or somebody owes you something, you'll never get anywhere. You first need to realize that this is yours, and it is your responsibility to protect it. If you protect and guard something jealously, you know everything you have to do to become the person that you need to be. If there's nothing that you are guarding, then what's the point? It defeats the whole purpose. So for me, it was hore. I'm here now. I'm not anybody else's responsibility but myself. What am I doing about that?
So from that, how do you then wrestle with challenges in your life? Normally, how do you confront challenging aspects or those mountains you have to climb?
I'm a very optimistic person. I always see the good in everything. I'm a huge believer. I believe in God and His Word, and the Bible tells us that all things work together for good, whatever it is. So I roll with the punches. I do the best that I can. I've taught myself, I've learned that you can only do your best. Once you've reached that, whatever life requires of you, it is whatever life requires of you. You've done your best. That is the best that you can do. That is as far as you can go. And that is what I strive for every day. I do my best, and that is where I stop.
All right, I want to go a little bit back to sports. There was a time you believed that Botswana could be a hub for sports.
Yes.
Do you still hold that belief? And if so, how can we bring it to fruition? How can we make Botswana a hub for sports?
Absolutely. I still believe in it 100%. And I said that because, like I said earlier, I believe because we're naturally talented. We don't need academies to come and prove to us Natasha is a brilliant athlete. We saw it in primary school. We saw it in junior school. We saw it, in senior secondary school. Real competition. If you get somebody like Nigel, a literal rough diamond. He just wanted to run. And for him, to win an Olympic gold medal at the Olympics.
Silver.
From absolutely...
I think it was a silver.
Yes, it was a silver. From absolutely nothing in the sense that any science behind it. It was just natural. And I grew up around that. I grew up surrounded by that kind of talent. And that's why I said earlier, in the US, I know what they are looking for is what we have. And we don't even have to struggle to find it because it's right here. So I believe that Botswana can be a hub for all these coaches around the world to come and say, we want more Nigel Amoses. How do we do that?
You want more Natashas?
Yes, we want more Natashas. How do we do that? We want to come to Botswana. We don't want Natasha to go to Europe and use our science machines or what. We want them to come here. So I definitely still believe, but we have a long way to go because our mindset needs to change. From Gohudimu to the average person on the ground, the system has to change altogether.
Yeah, one of the things, I had Nigel on, by the way, I'm glad you mentioned him, and one of the things he said was that we tend to celebrate the outcome, but we are not prepared to invest in the process or in the journey.
Yes.
If you agree with that, how can that be tackled? How can that mindset be shifted for us to become a hub as you believe we should become one?
Right. It definitely, like I said from the top, because more Botswana, obviously things come a system. There's a structure in place. A meeting has to be held so that it can impact us kotase. Because right now, as we have it, it's education first before anything. That has to be changed, because in first world countries, Natasha can be identified at 7 years old and get a high school scholarship by virtue of being an athlete. Hassan Salemo High School, colleges identify her in high school and secure a college scholarship for her. At that young age, at 8 years old, you will know your child's life is sorted. Because what are they called? Like instead
academies?
Yes, sort of like academies. So at 9, at 11, 13, when somebody saw Natasha is good, you are in like a regular school and be taken to a school that is 50% athletics, maybe 40% academics and 60% athletics. My future is here. Something can come out of here. Whereas somebody else whose dream is to go to Harvard, an Ivy League school, maybe is taken to a school where it's 70% academics and 30% thingy, because their focus is getting into an Ivy League school. So even as those things need to start from as small or young as primary school, so that by the time Ratsanako University, things are very defined. Right now, our tertiary institutions, they don't really focus on sport. It's really academic oriented, most of them. So then after that, Natasha Hatsanako UB, she gets discouraged. That's why for me, I decided I wanted to pursue college tennis in the US to continue my tennis rather than coming here and reaching a halt.
And speaking of tennis career, how is the future of tennis in Botswana and what's happening now? Do you have any potential champions in the making?
We definitely do. We definitely do, and I think now it's our responsibility. It's Natasha's responsibility to make sure we have those professional athletes, because we didn't get that opportunity. We only went so far, but it's because we didn't know better then. Now that we know better, I believe we can do better for the young ones. And for me, I think that's why I've taken the initiative with Opportunities Without Borders, as well as being a tennis coach, because I know the opportunities in tennis, I know the potential, and I know if you bring your young son or daughter to me, I will tell you, Mogobe, there's something there. Let's work on this while she or he's still 7 years old. But I need you and I to agree we are investing in this for the next 10, 12 years until your daughter is 15, 16, 17, 18. We are investing.
All right. Now, for those who may be a little bit confused, what specifically I'd like to call it an academy for now. The academy do for a child at age 9? What would you promise to take them through? What are you capable of doing?
Well, we obviously learn how to play tennis, but also playing sports. I think just really prepares you for life. The discipline, the being result-oriented, goal-driven, knowing we have a target, we need to achieve something. So the personal character building, really. A lot of kids now with social media and cyberbullying and stuff like that, they don't have a lot of self-esteem, they don't have a lot of confidence. So sport allows you to own yourself and be confident in your potential and what you can do. So, and obviously just motor skills. Today, a lot of kids are lazy because everything is, on the phones, internet, TV, whatever. And that, we need to keep our children's brains moving. We need to keep them moving also. A lot of mobility, coordination and stuff like that. Those are very, very important. So when we talk about teaching kids how to play tennis, it's not just like it's all-rounded personal development that you can take away from the tennis court and take to school, home, or even just with your family and people around you. So that's what we offer, really.
Yeah. In America, there's a gentleman by the name of Grover who took Michael Jordan, and people like Michael Jordan and the late what's his name from California,
Kobe.
Kobe, and he helped them overcome the mental aspect, where they were able to move from being great to being, greatest.
Yes.
You really pushed them
Yes.
in terms of the whole thing, the mental game, the physical game, having doctors involved. You followed them around.
Right.
Is there any hope for a place like Botswana? Do you think there's any room for people like Grover to take our great athletes and make them
Even greater.
even greater?
Absolutely. There's always room for that. But it will always go back to us realizing now that sports is more than just a hobby. Sports is more than just a recreational or wellness day type of thing. It's a lifestyle. It is something that is going to pay somebody's bills, pay somebody's school, get somebody through life. We need to acknowledge that first. And then we can start moving to saying, we can find those people, and that will be the incentive for them. There has to be something in it for them.
Yeah.
But for so many years, I believe we have those great people, Mobotswana. It's just that they're not recognized because it's not taken seriously. It's a lot of great coaches in Botswana do it on a volunteer basis. And how much longer? Imagine now, Anale, a conducive environment that allows him to even be the best version of a mentor and a coach to an athlete. How much more can they both do? But there's just so many limitations here, and I get that you can even be resilient despite the challenges that we go through in Botswana, but how much longer? For how long?
Well, only persistence can make us go through those challenges, isn't it?
Yes, but at one point, something has to give. Something has to sink. How much longer will you be a volunteer coach to create legends like Bujip Sisilolwan? How much longer? I think it gets to that. We're driven.
Are you not optimistic that we're going to turn the corner at some point?
Hey, at some point, but we're going to have to fight. We are going to have to be very unapologetic about it. For a narrative to change, Ghana, it doesn't happen overnight. You're talking about history that is going to be made 5, 10, 15, 20 years later.
Okay. So, as a serial entrepreneur, beyond sports, beyond chicken wings, what else are you up to?
Nothing.
Or what is the next? You're focusing on those areas,
Yes.
those two.
Yes, for now.
And then maybe this is the time now I ask you about the crystal ball question. Looking at 5 to 10 years, where do you see the sports business that you're running? Where do you see the chicken wing business, or shall I say the restaurant business that you are running? Can you look into the future and tell us what you see?
My hope for both entities is definitely for them to be independent, and most importantly just to change people's lives, really. Whether we're talking about employment, whether we're talking about becoming a conducive environment for people to become their highest self, to unleash their greatest potential, finding who they are and being the best versions of themselves. With Opportunities Without Borders, obviously just to get a lot of athletes a fair chance, because I believe with me, I can gladly tell you that tennis scholarship was the highest that I wanted to go. I never wanted to go professional, but achieving that for me was it. I want other people.
You didn't want to be a tennis champion?
No.
To win Wimbledon?
No.
Why? Why did you limit yourself?
It was too far-fetched, because if I wanted to be a Wimbledon champion, I should have it should have been done when I started the sport. Ghana tennis is not just being able to hit a ball fast. You need to win tournaments, you need to get points. For you to get into WTA, Boaders Opens, you need to qualify. Qualifying means, what are your points? What is your ranking?
I read the story of Maria Sharapova.
Yes.
That she left when she was little and went to an academy in Florida. And then played tennis non-stop for like 10 solid years.
Yes.
Every single day, 8 hours.
Yes.
After 10 years, She was a Wimbledon champion. She
Yes.
beat Serena Williams in 2004.
Right.
And became a champion. So
Yes.
it's doable.
It is doable, but understand Jorge, Maria Sharapova is in Europe and sport is treated differently. Serena Williams is in the US and they worship sport there. That's why none of these people went to college. That is why school was never a thing. You need to be, they were not normal kids. They lived, breathed, ate tennis.
So why can't
And
we
that's
do
what
that?
it took. Because we don't have the resources, we don't have the mentality, we don't have a system in place that is structured to accommodate those kinds of things.
Okay.
Ke mang gompieno ta tanga ngwana ngwana tswe mo sekoleng a ye go itaita boloko in Botswana.
And tell me what we do to change that mindset. We should not be, I always say that, look, instead of cursing the darkness, light the candle.
Yes.
You and I, how do we light the candle? How do we shift the thinking to where we want it?
It's something that we all have to do, Mogobe. It's not, you and I can't do it alone. Parents have to agree, the system has to agree. The system has to enable that. I don't know, 9 subjects and 8 hours of school. Have prep schools for athletes, elite athletes. Have them spend less time in class. Gotta have a pathway that will say it doesn't always have to be academics. Go to by academics, give them school, but sports, give them a platform to excel in that. And then after that, transitions. Go from primary school, let's now identify Natasha and now go Marang, junior school. What is in place for her to accommodate her ability? Higher was our Kolidumang senior. What is there? After that, then, what is there? When she's still in Lidumang, Asanza Kwala Form 5, are we now marketing her? Form 5, we have 10 offers waiting for her to go to LSU, to go to California State University, all these big athletic schools in the US. Those offers need to be lined up. It has to flow naturally. And it's something that both you and I can't do alone.
And so it requires political will.
Absolutely.
So what are you doing to engage our politicians to start the mind shift? Or does it require also adjusting our curricula?
Yes.
And what is being done there? And what should be done?
Hey, what should be done is that sports should be introduced in the curriculum.
Is it not there?
It is there, but as a hobby. We need to commercialize sport. We need to see how, as a country, sport can contribute to our GDP, our economy. We need to start thinking in that direction. And I'm sure they are aware. It's just something that will take time.
Are you not engaging the Rakaris of this world, the Minister of Sports and Culture, and his administration? Are you not engaging them?
I think they have been engaged. I think it's something that Rakari knows. Because he's been around athletes and he definitely knows what the challenges are. But like I said, I think it's something that doesn't happen overnight. It's something that needs a lot more engagement. It needs a lot more, we need to sit down and plan it and map it out for it to finally be something that is like, okay, there's something there. Let's see how we can.
Yeah.
Era.
As we get closer to the end of our conversation, I want to ask you a question that I normally ask my guests.
Right.
What sets you apart as a, in your case, serial entrepreneur from the ones who give up, who give excuses and end up, not getting to the level of success that you've reached? What are those one or two key ingredients? What sets you apart?
My tenacity. I'm very tenacious. I don't believe in starting something only for it to. I'm very result oriented. If I'm going to do something, I need to do all of it until it ends. It doesn't make sense for me to start something and quit. Then what is the point of all of that? So I always kind of look back. I've invested so much in developing myself as a person, my time, energy, whatever I've had to do. I've had sacrifices, I've had to sacrifice, I've had to work tirelessly. For what? Something has to give. I'm chasing that. So definitely my tenacity. You will never see me quitting, no matter what it doesn't make sense. It has to make, for me to quit, it has to make sense.
You're not a quitter.
Yes.
Okay, that's wonderful. Let's talk about, this is the part of the show where you get to ask me a question. What question do you have to ask me?
Okay. So I know you're also an entrepreneur and you're engaged in a lot of things. I think I'm interested to know how, obviously you have a lot more experience and things were not the same for you as they probably are now, many, many years ago. How has the journey been interesting and intriguing for you from when you started all of these things? I'm sure even at entrepreneurship, it was just always be a lawyer, be an accountant, be a doctor. That's when you're a person, type of thing. Now transitioning into this beautiful world where you can absolutely tap into anything that you want, from digital to manual to whatever. How has it?
Yeah, a lot of the changes have been subtle and seamless. Certainly during our time, there was no phone, there was no cell phone. I mean, in the 90s when I started my business, I think Mascom only came in around 98, if I recall correctly. So the advent of the cell phone and then the advent of the internet exploding, were not there, but it led to a major shift. So you ask me how I maneuvered through that difficult period. Like Steve Jobs likes to say, you cannot connect the dots as they happen. You only connect them backwards.
Yes.
So looking back, I can tell you the key pivotal events that led me to really focus on entrepreneurship. For instance, I had a difficult court case which threatened my career, and then I looked elsewhere, and that turned out to be a blessing. Even when I won that case, I had started in another route.
Yes.
I also tried to look outside my profession. I've always had the mentality, because what lawyers used to do, and still they do it a lot, hang around with other lawyers, drink with other lawyers, chill with other lawyers, spending all their time discussing cases and so on and so forth. I consciously got away from my tribe, so to speak, and started mingling with some of my clients who were business people. Most of them were into property, the ones that I got very close to. Mr. Mooney, for instance, Mr. Jamali, who just called me now. We're still in touch.
Yes.
But I realized that by spending more time with some of these clients, getting to know them, going to their homes and becoming a mentee to them helped me, and it helped me shift from what I was then. We was a lawyer in a square peg. I was a legal law cases all the time. When you talked about anything else, I got bored.
Yes.
So I had to now almost have a brain transplant in terms of stopping to think like a lawyer and thinking more like a business person, an entrepreneur.
Right.
So it was gradual, but I knew I was working on it because I was constantly engaged in the process of personal development. There was a time when I went crazy. I was reading a book a week, and that helped me. You know, if you ask the folks at Exclusive Books, they'll tell you that I'm always there buying books. I still do it to this day. So that hopefully answers part of your question.
That's interesting. Wow. How many years have you been in business?
Well, I posted that I've been 34 as a lawyer, and then I've been 21 as an entrepreneur.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's quite a bit of time. It's been fun. And in fact, I personally believe I'm just getting started.
Right.
All right. Time now to conclude by you talking to our viewers, inspiring them. So you have to look at that camera, if you don't mind, and speak to that entrepreneur or that business person or just that average member of the public and give them words of wisdom and encouragement as a parting inspiration, so to speak.
Okay. So to everyone who's going to see this, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are just, 8 to 5, or whether you are just the person really just doing what they need to do, whatever you're doing, do it well. If you want to start a business, do your market research and pursue it. Don't look for validation. You're the only person who can validate yourself. Work hard. You always get out of life what you put in. Nothing happens overnight. Don't start a business and expect to see profit or anything within 3 months or even within a year. So whatever you want to engage in, give yourself a timeline and psychologically prepare yourself for whatever challenges that are going to come. I think we're living in a world of instant gratification where we feel like if we start something, we need to see results right now. Unfortunately, that's not how it works, and you need to be prepared for that part of it, which is the most painful and very, it's a refining process, and you need to be. It's very brutal. You need to be psychologically and emotionally and mentally prepared for that phase. But all in all, just get up and wing it.
Now, can you tell them how they can reach you, your contacts on social media and elsewhere?
Yes, you can reach me. I'm Natasha Siku on Facebook. Opportunities Without Borders on Facebook. Wing It On Facebook. Wing It On BW on Instagram. We also have our Wing It On number 77466-230. The number again, 77466-230. That you can call us, you can WhatsApp us for your orders, or if you wanted to come see our place. We are located in Broadhurst, past BBS. We have a sit-down dine-in eatery as well as a venue that you can use for all your events. Thank you so much.
Okay, it remains for me, Ms. Siku, to recognize you. You are indeed a serial entrepreneur. You are making a difference in the sports world and in the business world. Be encouraged and reach out for those great heights. And you notice that every time you climb one mountain, there's an even bigger one for you to climb.
Yeah.
Keep it going. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.